Hey everybody! Today I'm going to review Rogue One, a Star Wars story, the first installment of the Star Wars spin-off anthology series. Now this is a very interesting film to watch because I want to know how would they make a Star Wars movie with no Jedi. Since that Disney had bought the rights for Star Wars, we will get both the sequel trilogy and the spin-off anthology series each year. This is definitely the start of the Star Wars spin-off anthology movies, so that way we won't have to wait for Star Wars Episode 8 and 9 until the next year and then the next 2 years. I finally saw it with my uncle in IMAX 3D, and it's fantastic. A brilliant spin-off of the Star Wars franchise, and I'm definitely going to tell you why I love this movie without any spoilers. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the story of this film took place after the events of Revenge of the Sith and before the events of A New Hope. After all the Jedis has been destroyed except for Obi-Wan and Yoda, who both had survived the Clone Wars and are now in hiding, the Imperial Empire has beginning to build a giant weapon called the Death Star. When the rebels had found out that the Imperial Empire's plan, they must find a way to destroy the Death Star. It starts off where a girl named Jyn Erso has escaped from the Imperial armies after she saw that the Imperial armies has taken her father to complete the Death Star. 15 years later, Jyn Erso has become one of the prisoners of the Imperial Empire until she was rescued by the rebels. So Jyn Erso has decided to team up with the rebels to make more allies, fight the Imperial Empire, find her father, and steal the plan to destroy the Death Star, and that's where the excitement begins. I think the story of this film is excellent. It's definitely the science fiction version of Saving Private Ryan. Plus there are some funny moments, exciting moments, and sad moments as well in the film. However, unlike the previous Star Wars movies, this Star Wars movie does not use the opening crawl in the beginning of the film. The special effects in this film are wonderful. I'm very glad that they use both CGI and practical effects at the same time. I can tell that some of the creatures in this film are used in CGI and some are people in monster suits. Also, there are 3 characters in this film that are in motion capture, and those are the droid K2SO and those other 2 characters, which I will not tell you who it is, but it pretty much reminds me of how they make Jeff Bridges as a young man in Tron Legacy. The landscapes on each different planet are so magnificent to look at. All the weapons, the aircraft, the makeups, and the costume designs are very creative and well designed. It's so great to see the Death Star and the rest of the giant machine weapons returning from the original trilogy. The action scenes in this film are so brutal, yet very exciting to look at. My favorite part of this film is the battle between the rebels and the Empire in the beach. Now let's get to the acting, directing, and music. Let's start with Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones. She did a wonderful job playing that rogue Maverick, who was the daughter of a research scientist determined by the Empire for her crimes against them until she was fed by the rebels, and later teamed up with the rebels to go on the mission to steal the plan to destroy the Death Star. She is very smart and was good at shooting laser guns. While I think Rey from The Force Awakens is the best female Star Wars character ever, Jyn Erso is a very awesome female character and is pretty much the female version of Tom Hanks' character in Saving Private Ryan. Now moving on to Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna. I think he did a splendid job playing that Rebel Alliance intelligence officer who helps Jyn and the rest of the rebels to fight against the Imperial Empire. Orson Karanik, played by Ben Mendelsohn, who was from The Dark Knight Rises, did a cool job playing that evil villain who was the director of advanced weapons research for the Imperial Empire. Then there's the droid, K2SO, played by Alan Tudyk. I must say, he did a great job playing that droid who is allied with the rebels. He's pretty much like C-3PO, but is good at fighting. This is the second time Alan Tudyk played a robot since he played Sonny in iRobot. As for Chirunt, played by Donnie Yen, he did an awesome job playing that blind warrior who believes in the Force and is good at fighting someone with his long stick. Much like Daredevil, he may be blind, but he is good at hearing. Donnie Yen is definitely good at acting and martial arts, just like Jet Li. Others, like Jyn Erso's father, Galen, played by Mads Mikkelsen, Bolt Hai Ruk, played by Riz Ahmed, Baz Malbus, played by Jian Wang, and Saw Gerrera, played by Forrest Whitaker, all did a good job. Jyn Erso's father, Galen Erso, was a research scientist who was forced to be taken by the Imperial Empire to build the Death Star completely. Bolt Hai Ruk was a pilot who used to work for the Imperial Empire, but later becomes allies with the rebels to fight against the Imperial Empire. Baz Malbus is Chirrut's best friend, who is a rebel warrior mercenary that fights someone with his guns. He is very funny, but he didn't really have much development. Saw Gerrera was a veteran of the Clone Wars, but he was not really in this movie too much. Wow, Forrest Whitaker has been in 2 great science fiction movies this year, both Arrival and now this film. The only character returning from the Star Wars prequel trilogy in this film is Bail Organa, played by Jimmy Smits. His role in this film was just minor. It's very wonderful to see Darth Vader appearing in this movie, even though he was not really in this movie a lot. But when he's on screen, it's splendid and is voiced once again by James Earl Jones. There are also some characters from the original Star Wars trilogy that make a cameo appearance in this film, which I will not tell you who it is. Now for the director, Gareth Edwards. I have to say, he did an excellent job directing this movie. After all, I am a huge fan of that Godzilla movie back in 2014, and this, in my opinion, is the second best movie he ever directed. The music composed by Michael Giacchino sounds very exciting, epic, and pretty much has the same theme songs of the previous Star Wars movies. So overall, this is one of the best Star Wars movies I had ever seen. Though not 100% perfect like the original Star Wars trilogy and last year's The Force Awakens, it's still a fantastic Star Wars movie with a much dark and serious tones. I actually love this Star Wars movie the same way I love Revenge of the Sith. This is one hell of a great start to the Star Wars spin-off anthology. The best Star Wars movie for me is still The Force Awakens so far. If you are a fan of Star Wars, definitely go see it. So I give this movie 4.5 out of 5 nuclear bombs.